So we're going to start in a seated position this morning. So I'm sitting up on blankets just because my hips aren't super open in the mornings. But if you want to sit on blankets, that's great. If you have a bolster, go ahead and grab that. Or if you just want to sit on the floor, we're going to sit in what's called easy seat, which is legs crossed. Start to come to an awareness of your sit bones. And so primarily the weight of your body should be on those sit bones and a little bit on the upper thighs. If you're sitting on the blanket, you'll feel that support of the upper thighs, which is one reason why the blanket really helps. Notice how your pelvis is situated, and lots of times without a blanket or a bolster underneath our pelvis, we tend to kind of round out the back and slump forward. So another thing that the blanket helps is that it helps us sit in a really good position. So I wanted to focus the class today on starting with just like the awareness of breath. And mainly because in my PT practice, I see so many people who have, I'm going to call it disordered breathing. So they either breathe a lot through their mouth, or they pull their belly in when they breathe in. There's different patterns that people kind of fall into and not knowing that that's a problem. And what that does is it leads to a lot of stiffness in the lower back as we pull our abdominals in all the time. It can lead to some pelvic floor dysfunction where the pelvic floor muscles aren't moving through their normal range of motion. It can lead to some hip problems because of the constant holding of the big muscles. So breathing is very related to all parts of our body, really. I remember telling Peyton in yoga teacher training that it's all going to come down to the diaphragm and breathing at the end. And he said, well, yeah, if you're not breathing, you're going to be dead. And I'm like, no, but it's more than that. It's more than that. So, indeed, the breathing is sort of the center of the body. And so what I have you do is take your hands and place them in a little bit of a hand mudra where the fingertips are touching. I'm going to hold my hand up high just so you can kind of see the configuration of my hand. Okay, so fingertips and thumb tips are touching in sort of this open, almost like you're holding a small ball. And I'm going to have you place the thumbs and the pinkies right at the angle of the ribs there. So maybe your pinkies are touching about at your belly button and the thumbs are running along the rib cage. And so there's this nice spaciousness there. Now when you do this, notice if you've sort of hiked up your shoulders and see if you can sort of roll them out a few times and kind of find that place where they're not holding a lot of tension. And then if you like, you can close your eyes, but we're going to start with just breathing in and breathing out and noticing the breath. So notice where the breath naturally wants to go. We start in this way because we want to think of the breath as being something that we receive and not something that we have to control. So as we breathe in, the abdominals release and receive the breath. Rib cage moves out to the side and receives the breath. So with that in mind, just take about 3 or 4 breaths. And see if you can feel that natural movement of the breath in and the breath out. Notice if there's a little bit of an inclination for your fingers to sort of extend a little bit as the breath comes in. And as the breath goes out, they come back closer together just a little bit as you follow the rhythm of the breathing. And we won't spend a lot of time exploring different breath options in yoga, but know that there are lots of different ways to breathe, all with different intentions. But see if now that you've kind of gotten into this rhythm of breath, you can introduce a little bit of a pause at the top of the inhale. So So now your fingers are extending and opening, and the ball is getting just a little bit bigger. And then on the exhale, bottom of that exhale, there's a little bit of coming together of the fingers of the palms, and there's a suspension of the breath there. And so you come to this nice flow of breath as you inhale, suspend, and exhale, and suspend. Take about 2 more cycles just on your own. See if you can feel what I'm describing is a sort of expansion, that allowing, softening of the belly, an invitation to breathe in, and that invitation to breathe out. That suspension on either end. And then release the hand mudra. Hands can be down on your side, on your legs, or by your side, however it feels comfortable to you. And we're going to introduce some gentle movements. So raising the arms up on the inhale, and then bringing the arms down on the exhale. So now that we've gotten this nice rhythm of breath, move at your own pace. I may be going a little bit faster or slower. See if you can feel that suspension of the breath on either end of the inhale and the exhale. And think of the arms as sort of floating up on the inhale. And then this idea of sort of drifting down on the exhale. So that movement up. Notice if there's any restriction to the movement. Just notice. When we come to the yoga mat, we try to leave that judging mind somewhere else. So we are just the witness to the movement. So float up and drift down. And now we'll introduce a little bit of a movement, so we'll of the body. So we'll inhale the arms up, turn to the right, and exhale the arms down. And then inhale the arms to center, and exhale as you twist the other way. So notice here that the thoracic area, inhale up, exhale to the right, and the pelvic area moving separate from each other. Inhale up and exhale down. Find the pause. Inhale up and exhale down. Bring the arms down by the side, down onto the leg, on the mat. One more time to the left. Inhale up and exhale down. Now we'll inhale up to return to center. Exhale, bring the arms down and place them behind the hips, pressing down through the hands. Lift the chest up. Allow the head to come back. Allow the chin to lift, pulling strongly through the shoulder blades as you press down firmly with the hands and open up the front of the body. Notice how this changes the breath. And then take one more breath in. Exhale completely. And then we'll come back to seated, lifting those arms up, and then bringing them down to heart center. So this other hand mudra called Anjali Mudra is really nice when we're talking about breathing and opening up space in the thoracic cavity and opening up space through the abdominals. So as we inhale, we can kind of open the hands into this blossoming flower. And then we can exhale and bring the fingers back together. Lightly touching. We inhale, open up, receive, and exhale. Almost like we're pumping our heart with our hands. Inhale again. Opening, receiving, allowing, and exhale. Fingertips come together. And maybe set an intention for the rest of the class with your hands in Anjali Mudra. And then we'll bring the arms down by our side again, and we'll come into a little bit more of a side bending. So now we're going to inhale the left arm up. We're going to side bend over to the right. And now, if you'll notice as you go over, your left sit bone might want to hitch up just a little bit. So firmly plant the left sit bone down as you reach just a little bit further with those left fingertips. And then press down with the right hand to see if you can find a little bit of more straightening in that right elbow. And as you do that, that's going to intensify that stretch just a little bit. So notice what you feel. Notice where your body is wanting to collapse and really push into that to enrich this experience. Always in yoga, as you're stretching one thing open, you're working really hard with another body part. So it's always about strengthening and stretching at the same time. Take one more breath, and then we'll inhale the hands up together. And then this time the left hand's going to come down. You're going to side bend over to the left side. Notice that the right sit bone now wants to hitch up just a little bit. See if you can ground it down and reach just a little bit further with those right fingertips, and then start to straighten out that left elbow. Reach. And then notice how the breath changes. All of this different activity going on, and see if you can come back to that rhythm of breath. Breathing in and breathing out. No doubt the breath will change here because the shape of your body has changed. So you're going to feel it a little bit less in the right ribs as they're being pulled to their extremes of motion. And then inhale the hands back up, reaching tall, and then exhale, hands come to the knees. And then we're going to take the right leg out to the side, a little bit sort of at about a 45-degree angle. Okay, so we're going to take the arms up again. This time we're going to reach towards those right toes. So see if you can take that right hand, and maybe you actually touch the toes. Maybe you're somewhere on the shin. Wherever you are, see if you can find a nice anchor here and almost pull yourself up a little straighter with the left fingertips, and then start to side bend over to the right. So a lot of action going on with that right hand, almost pulling yourself over to the right side. The left sit bone still grounding down and the left fingertips reaching. Take a breath in here. Lengthening out on the left with every inhale. And then on the exhale, bring the left hand sort of behind the left hip, and we'll raise up that right arm and just a little counter pose to what we just did. And then coming back to center, let's bring the feet together into our butterfly. Now it's early in the practice, so don't get too crazy with the butterfly here. Don't expect your knees to be super flat, but take your hands right, your thumbs right inside the arches of those feet, and just give yourself a little bit of a foot massage. So our feet do a lot for us all day long, and our feet are very much attached to the other transverse planes of the body. We have arches in the feet that are very much related to the pelvic floor, to the diaphragm, to the soft palate. So go ahead and give yourself a nice little foot massage here. And then we'll take that left leg out to the side. And I didn't say it on the other side, but make sure that left leg is staying nice and strong with the toes pulled towards and the quadriceps really engaged here. The arms are going to float up again. And then exhale the left hand over towards the left shin, the left ankle, maybe the toes. And then see if you can notice that that right sit bone wants to reach up or lift up, and ground it down nice and firmly. And the right arm's gonna lift up just a little bit higher, and a little bit more of a folding over towards that left side as the left hand is pulling you over, just a little bit. So notice that there's stretching, there's tension, there's effort, there's ease. I talk about that a lot. There's always all of this going on. Everything belongs. And then we'll inhale the arms back up, bring your foot back up, and we'll maybe bounce the butterfly wings just a little bit, just getting some good blood flow into those hip joints. And we're going to turn now and get into all fours position. I'm going to move my blankets out of the way. So come to where your wrist and your elbows and your shoulders are stacked on top of each other. The knees are right underneath the hips. And if you like, you can always float your knees with blankets. You can always put blankets under your knees themselves. But let's start with some cat back. So allow the belly to come down towards the mat. Allow the tailbone to drift up. Allow the head to come up. And this is when we're inhaling. On the exhale, bring the tailbone down towards the mat. Bring the crown of the head down towards the mat and make a nice round with your back. And then we'll inhale, release that effort, allow the ribs to move, allow the belly to move. Exhale, gently squeeze your pelvic floor as you tuck under. Head comes down towards the mat, tailbone down. Inhale, lift up, release the pelvic floor. Exhale, gently squeeze pelvic floor and come under, allowing the head to come down, pushing with the arms now. Notice that effort there. Inhale, come up. Exhale, round out. And then we'll inhale one more time, allowing that full extension and allowing that openness of the front of the body. And exhale, gently closing down and stretching. And then tuck your toes under. We're going to come back as we glide back. We're going to bring the sit bones back towards the heels, keeping the tailbone moved up towards the ceiling. So a nice openness of the pelvic floor area here. So it's almost like we're going into a bit of a squat, but we're in all fours and we're opening up the shoulders. So staying in this position, see if you can notice what happens to the breath here. Maybe even slide your fingers just a little more forward so that you get a little more stretch through the sides of the body. And then see if you can kind of shift your hips to one side, back to center, over to the other side, and back to center. And just noticing that the hips and the thoracic area are moving separate from each other. And then keeping your hands a little bit more forward, we're going to gently squeeze the pelvic floor, gather up the muscles of the pelvic floor and glide forward, coming just a little bit over the wrist. So coming forward just a little bit, past the wrist. And then we'll inhale as we release and open. And then we'll exhale as we gently squeeze and move forward over the wrist, a little past the wrist. And notice if you can feel the layers of abdominal muscles come in as we go into this sort of modified plank. So inhale, and then we'll exhale. And the further forward you go, you'll feel those layers of abdominal muscles kick in. Then we have to release those abdominal muscles to take that nice deep breath in and open up, find some space. Exhale as we gently come forward. And then we'll inhale again. And this time, walk the hands back until you come back to sit into a sort of a partial kneel, partial seated position, almost like a hero, but your toes are still tucked under and you're getting a really nice stretch of the arches of your feet here. So come back to breath awareness. If you liked that hand mudra earlier, you can use the hand mudra to kind of frame the bottom, the lower borders of the rib cage there, and breathe in and feel some expansion, and breathe out. Feel the ribs come back together, and see if you can notice anything happening in your pelvic floor as you inhale. It's a little bit of spaciousness, and as you exhale, comes back together. And then coming into a high kneeling position, this time the tops of the feet are going to go flat. We're going to take your right leg forward into a lunge. So see if you can get to that place where on the lined up with the short end of the mat, you're pretty much on railroad tracks with your right foot and your left knee. And then you're trying to get that right knee right over the right ankle. The left hip is going to be forward from the left knee. But what I want you to do is take a moment and just posteriorly tilt your pelvis just a little bit. And you'll notice that that intensifies that stretch in the front of the hip. Good. And then let's inhale your arms up. See if you can feel that direct energy pulling you up towards the ceiling. Notice the position of your chin and the back of your head, that those horizontal diaphragms are lined up with the earth. From the soft palate to the respiratory diaphragm to the pelvic floor to the arches of the right foot. So take another breath in here. On the exhale, let's open up to the right side. So starting to move the thorax on the pelvis. Pelvis is staying nice and steady, facing towards the front of the mat, but the thoracic spine is twisting with the fingers reaching forward, reaching back. Good. Inhale back to center, arms lift overhead, and exhale will open up to that left side. Now coming into very similar to like a warrior two position with the arms here. And then we'll inhale the arms up again, reaching and lifting. And then exhale, hands come back down to frame that right foot, and the right knee is going to come back to join the left. Take a moment now just to shift your hips from side to side in that tabletop position, and then walking your hands back. We'll do that same thing on the left side. So finding some stability here, left foot's going to move forward. Find that alignment of the left knee right over the left ankle. Little bit of a posterior tilt here in the pelvis will help to ensure that you're not putting too much stress through the lower back. And then we'll inhale the arms up. So again, aligning the pelvic diaphragm, the thoracic diaphragm, the soft palate, and the crown of the head all shooting up towards the ceiling. Arms are lifting. Breath is steady. On the inhale, lift just a little bit higher, and on the exhale, opening up to the left. And then inhale those arms up again, and exhale, opening to the right. Arms are shooting out of their sockets. Staying nice and steady in the center. Inhale up. Exhale, open to the left. Inhale up. And exhale, open to the right. We'll inhale up again. And exhale, hands down. Knee comes back. We shift the hips from side to side. So we're going to take that a little bit deeper. in a minute. Move my blocks forward a little bit. So first, let's take that right leg back, and we're going to keep the toes tucked under. And here we're going to stretch into that right heel cord. So again, the hands are very active here. They're pressing forward on the mat. That's pushing the rest of the body back and stretching into that right heel cord. So breathe in and breathe out here. Notice that there's effort going on in the upper body. Quadriceps on the right leg are really strong. Take one more breath here, and then exhale, right knee comes to join the left, shift your hips from side to side, and we'll take the left leg back. Pressing with the hands forward pushes the body back. Left quadriceps now super active. Left heel cord being stretched. Lots of things going on right now. Come back to breath awareness. Where does your breath move? Adopt this posture of receiving the breath. Take one more in, and then come back to knees down, shift the hips side to side, walk the hands back. We're coming back into a kneeling position here and take that right foot forward. Now we're going to make this experience a little bit deeper. So what we're going to do is we're going to tuck the pelvis under just like we did. We're going to actually press down with the right foot just a little bit more, almost like we're going to slide it towards the front of the mat. And that's going to really get that that right quadricep engaged. And we're going to take the left glute, and by pressing the left knee down and pushing it towards the back of the mat, we're going to really get that left glute engaged. So feel the effort in the left glutes, feel the effort in the right quads, and notice that the pelvis does not move, okay? So there's a lot of energy being expended, but nothing's happening. And then come back to noticing the breath. So where does the breath go? What happens to the breath? Are you able to still receive the breath into the upper belly, into the lower rib cage as you're exerting and as you're efforting in other parts of the body? And then inhale the arms up, exhale the hands down on either side of that right foot. We're going to tuck the left toes under now and come into a low lunge. So if you like, this is a good opportunity to use blocks if you have them, if you want to be just a little bit more upright. If you don't have blocks, you can certainly do this without them. So I have them on the middle setting here. I'm pushing back into my left heel, still engaging the left glutes, the left quadriceps. The right quadriceps are pressing down my right foot and pushing it forward. So lots of effort going on here. And take the left hand close into the right foot, press down, right hand comes to the right pelvis, and start to rotate. Separate the thoracic area from the pelvic area, and then raise the arm up when it's available, when you're able. And you don't have to raise the arm up. You may be getting just enough movement and effort without raising the arm up. Take one more breath here. And then on the exhale, right hand's going to come down. We're going to scooch that left foot a little closer and start to straighten out the right leg. I'm going to move my blocks so you can see better what I'm doing, but we're coming into a pyramid pose here. So planting down both feet. Think of the feet as having 4 corners each. And so we're pressing down into 4 corners of both feet. The left hip swings forward, the right hip swings back. And we're folding over that front leg. Eventually coming to where our nose is heading down towards the right ankle. We breathe in and breathe out. And then planting the hands firmly, we're going to power up that right leg and lift up the left leg. Again, this might be an opportunity to use blocks. And what you want to think of is that that left hip is staying parallel with the floor. And this is sort of a modified warrior 3 here. So take one more breath. On the exhale, bend the right knee, step back with the left foot again, back into your low lunge. And then we're going to step back with the right foot into our plank pose. From plank, power up your arms and press forward with them as you lift your hips up towards the ceiling, coming into a down dog. So here, watching that your shoulders are staying engaged and open at the same time. You can come up and down, lifting the heels and lowering the heels. And lifting the heels and lowering the heels. Make this an exercise of breathing. Inhaling and exhaling. We'll go one more time here. Lifting up the heels. This time on the exhale, the knees are going to come down towards the mat and we'll sit back into a child's pose. So in our child's pose, we are more aware of the breath. We're more aware of the feeling of our heart beating against our thighs. We feel that openness through the thoracic area and through the shoulders. And if it feels good, you can rock your hips from side to side. Just open up some space in your trunk. So we'll take one more breath here. And just noticing the different sensations that you're feeling in your body. We'll come up, back up into that high kneeling position. And this time the left foot comes forward. So pressing into that left foot, like you're trying to straighten out your left leg, it'll engage the quadriceps. Pressing down with your right knee and pushing back towards the back of the mat. Get your right glutes involved. So a lot of action happening here between the two extreme motions. And then we'll inhale the arms up. So again, coming back to notice how the breath changes, how it moves. And then take one more breath here. We're going to bring the hands down on either side of that left foot. Lift up the right knee here. Now we're coming into this low lunge. If you like, you can come back to using blocks and see if you can feel really supported here with blocks. It's not necessary. You can always do this without the blocks. So breathe in and breathe out. Notice all the action that's going on between the two legs. Lengthening of the spine. Grounding of the feet. And then pressing down with the right arm, we lift up the left arm. And on the other side, we kept the hand on the hip as long as you needed to. And then if you want, you lift up the arm. It's always optional. Always different stages of engagement that we can use in our yoga practice. So take one more breath here. On the exhale, left hand comes down. We're going to scooch up that right leg just a bit, coming into our pyramid pose. So in pyramid, I'm going to move the block so you can see, but The right heel is really pressing down, and that's swinging the right pelvis forward. The left foot is grounding down, and the left hip swings back. And we notice the breath. All the other action that's going on. The breath moves in, the breath moves out. Deep stretch into that right heel cord. And breathe. And then take one more breath here. And then we'll power up that left leg and come into our modified warrior 3. I'm using blocks here. It's not necessary to have blocks. But for me, I want to bring the floor up just a little bit. And I'm working on keeping that right leg parallel with the floor as much as possible. And that's going to require me to be mindful of that pinky toe kind of drawing down towards the floor. Take one more breath here. And then exhale, bring the right foot to join the left. So we're in this forward fold here. Go ahead and take your feet about hip distance apart. Allow your knees to soften. And grab your opposite elbows and allow the head just to drop down towards the mat. And almost allow your torso to rest on your thighs and allow that nice openness through the back of the body. Breathe in and breathe out. And then release the hands down to the floor and start to come up. And you can walk your hands up your legs if you like, but one vertebrae at a time, sort of unroll until you come up into a standing posture. And we're going to come and stand in Tadasana. So just for a couple of breaths, noticing the feet grounding down into the floor. There's a lifting of the kneecaps. A little lift of the perineum, so Mula Bandha gently contracts. Notice when you contract Mula Bandha that there's a little bit of the Uddiyana Bandha that goes along with it, so that sort of lifting of the lower abs. The chest lifts, the shoulder blades down the back, and the crown of the head, that right in the center of the head, pulling up towards the ceiling. When we have the bandhas engaged, it makes the breath a little shallower. So notice that the chest might move a little bit more here. And then release the bandhas. Don't release the other muscles that are engaged. And see if you notice that the breath changes. So take one more breath here. And then we'll inhale those arms up. And we're going to step back into a crescent lunge. So in our crescent lunge, we're going to work a little bit on some stability. So on the inhale, we reach just a little bit higher. On the exhale, gently engage the bandhas as you straighten out the right knee and pull down with your arms into goalpost arms. So we'll inhale, release the bandhas. Exhale, gently squeeze and lift. Bringing the elbows down. Feeling the stability all the way from the feet up. Inhale up. Exhale, gently squeeze and lift. Almost as if the pelvic floor is pulling you up. Inhale, release. Exhale, gently squeeze and lift. And we'll go one more time, inhaling. This time we're going to drop the left heel down and come into a warrior 2. So we did something similar when we were kneeling. This time we're going to be noticing the right knee, again, right over the right ankle. The left heel is pressing down. So make sure you're getting that glute med really engaged as that left heel pushes towards the back of the mat. The gaze is going to be over the middle finger of the right hand. Breathe in and breathe out. And then allow the left hand to drop down. Allow the right arm to lift up as we come into our peaceful warrior. Option here is to wrap your left arm around and see if you can find a little bit of a bind with that right thigh as you breathe in and breathe out. Take one more breath as you reach just a little bit higher with those right fingertips. And then on the exhale, straighten out the right foot, pivot it in. Arms are going to come out to a T. Take a breath in here. Arms reach out to the sides. And then exhale, hands come in onto the high hip, onto the pelvis as you fold forward. So trying to keep your back nice and flat, coming back down with your hands to the floor. Again, option to use a block if you like. So you can place a block in front of you. Put it on the low side or the medium side or the high side, whichever one you feel like you need. And from this place, keeping your back nice and flat, just start to lunge into that right knee just a bit. Come back to center, lunge into the left knee, come back to center. And we'll go through this nice gentle motion here, inhaling and exhaling. Inhale into the lunge, exhale back to center. Inhale and exhale. And inhale and exhale. And now with or without the block, we're going to move both hands over towards the right foot. Wherever your left hand is, I want you to press down. You can also grab your right ankle with your left hand if that feels comfortable. But wherever it is, you're going to find some effort through that left arm to help you rotate and lift up the right arm towards the ceiling. Now, if the right arm doesn't feel good lifting up, keep it on that high hip, keep it on the pelvis. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice that the twist is allowing the thoracic spine to move separate from the pelvis. One more breath here. And then exhale, hands come down. You move your block over if you're using a block. If not, then you're just going to walk your hands over. Either grab the left ankle with your right hand or place the right hand on the block. Make sure your legs are staying nice and strong with the four corners of the feet grounded down. Left hand comes to the pelvis. And there's a pushing of the right hand. Pull you just a little bit more into the twist, and the left arm lifts up if that's available. So breathe in and breathe out. Notice that tendency to collapse down through the right foot. Keep the muscles engaged. Breathe in, breathe out. A little higher with the lift here. Exhale, hands come down, come back to center. And we'll walk the hands over to the left so that the hands are on either side of that left foot as we come up into first a low lunge and then into our high lunge. Arms come up on the inhale. Exhale, straighten out the left leg. Elbows come down to goalpost or cactus arms, however you want to think about it. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, see if you can gently engage Mula Bandha, the pelvic floor, Uddiyana Bandha, the lower abs. As you come up, inhale to release. Exhale, gently come back up, arms move. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale, this time dropping down that right heel. Arms come out to the side into our warrior two. So again, move your feet as you see fit so that you feel solid balance between the front leg and the back leg. The right glute med is really engaged here, pushing the heel towards the short end of the mat. The left quads are planting down the foot, pressing forward. Good. Take a breath in and breath out. And then we'll drop that right hand down, lifting up the left hand into our peaceful warrior, remembering the option of wrapping around, finding a bind with that left thigh. Breathe in and breathe out. Staying strong. Take one more breath here. And then we'll straighten out the left leg, coming back to our forward fold. This time, if you like, we can go a little bit deeper. Hands are on the high pelvis. Pull the elbows back. Pull the shoulder blades back and down. The heels are really planting down, and the lateral foot is really grounded. So inhale to find a little bit of a back bend. Exhale as you fold forward. Now in this pose, we want to start working with the breath to get just a little bit more into the forward bend. Elbows are hugging to the back. The head is staying in line with the trunk. And we use the inhale to lengthen. We use the exhale to fold. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale to fold. Inhale to lengthen. And exhale to fold. And then placing the hands on the floor or on the block, start to come back up with a flat back. Take a couple of breaths here. And we're going to walk the feet closer to the midline, a little bit wider than your hips, so maybe about 2 feet apart. Keep your hands between the feet, maybe a little bit in front, and start to drop the hips down. So we're coming here into a yogi squat. See if you can bring your hands to that Anjali Mudra, front of your heart. The hands are pressing together. The elbows are pushing into the knees. The knees are gently pressing back into the elbows. There's where the effort is in this particular posture. Notice with the legs and the arms doing that work, how your breath changes. See if you could, it allows you to release your abdominal muscles enough to breathe in and breathe out. And then we're going to release the mudra and take our right hand out to the outside of the right foot and take the left hand and let it lift up towards the left as you rotate your body gently. So you breathe in to lift just a little bit higher. You breathe out. Notice the groundedness. Always an opportunity to engage pelvic floor on the out breath. So we inhale to release. And we exhale, gently squeeze and lift. And we inhale to release. And we exhale, gently squeeze and lift. And we'll take one more breath here as we lift and reach. And on the exhale, we come back to center, back to groundedness. back to that feeling of support through the lower body. And if this is getting tiring for you, if you want to and you have a block handy, you can always slip the block underneath your buttocks. So we're going to take the left side now. Left hand comes to the outside of that left foot. The right arm sweeps up. And we reach it up on the inhale. And on the exhale, gently squeeze and lift. On the inhale, lifting just a little bit higher. On the exhale, gently squeeze and lift. Notice here that the left arm is supporting the left leg is supporting the left arm. They're working together. Inhale one more time. Exhale, squeeze and lift. Bring hands back to center. We're going to sit back and straighten out the legs. Feels really good after that intense squat. So work a little bit with getting the movement in the knees. And I'm going to stay facing you for the next series of poses. So we're going to keep that right leg straight, and we're going to bring the left leg out to the side. So we spent some time this morning opening up the hips a little bit. So if they still don't feel very open, you can always put some kind of prop underneath the knee. Spend a moment just to notice the energy coming up that right leg. The toes are flexed, the quadriceps is engaged. And notice a little bit of energy of the left foot pushing into the thigh, but reaching out for the walls at the same time. And then let's inhale the arms up. On the exhale, bringing the hands through Anjali Mudra as we fold forward. And find a place that feels secure in our leg where we can anchor onto. Now for some of you, you may be all the way down at the foot. Some of you may be mid-calf. So just everything is fine. Wherever you land is fine. The idea here is the back is staying relatively straight and we're hinging forward at the hip. So breathe in and breathe out. See if with every inhale you can feel just a little longer through the trunk. And with every exhale, you can fold just a little bit deeper. Inhale. And exhale. Good, and then we're going to come back up to a seat. So inhale the arms up. On the exhale, left arm is going to go, left hand is going to go behind the left hip. We're going to lift up into our counter pose, a modified gate pose here as we press with the left and lift with the right, feeling nice and long, open through the right side of the body. If it's available, go ahead and reach your right arm by your right ear and then swing it down as we come back to sit again. Right foot's going to come back up, join the left foot. Again, back into our butterfly pose. We're going to go a little deeper into this now that we've warmed up the hips. So take your hands and grab the outside of your feet here, and the thumbs are going to be in the arches of your feet. So there's a lot of energy in this pose. And one of the main anchors is through the feet and the hands. So notice if the feet press down and the hands pull up and roll the shoulder blades down the back. The neck is nice and long with the crown of the head pulling up. So in a vertical plane, the sit bones are grounded, the lateral borders of the feet are grounded, and the spine is nice and long. In the horizontal plane, the feet are pressing together, but the knees are pulling out towards the sides of the room. So notice that really intense horizontal pull of the knees. And come back to awareness of the breath. I always say the breath is like the conductor of the symphony. It's just always there in the background, telling different body parts when to move, when to come in, when they're part of the symphony. So take one more breath here. And then if you like, take your thumbs and we're gonna open up your feet just a little bit more so that the arches are rolling towards the ceiling. See if you can keep your elbows in towards the waist and gently start to bring your chest forward towards the floor. There's a lot going on here. See if you can stay with the breath, stay with that focus on the body. Not worrying if you're doing it right or wrong. I'm giving you lots of instructions so that you can stay tuned into your body. On the inhale, we'll bring your torso up. We'll bring the knees back to center. Go ahead and bring your legs out and maybe move your hips from side to side. Maybe bicycle your knees just a little bit. Get some blood flowing. Then we're going to bring your right foot up. So the right foot now is inside that left thigh. Option to use a block under the knee if you need. The left leg is really strongly engaged. The toes pull towards your body. The quadriceps is engaged. And we're going to inhale those arms up. Exhale through Anjali Mudra and start to walk your hands down your left leg. So same cues here that the right knee is pulling out towards the sides of the room as the right foot presses in. So that sort of push-pull is happening. There's a folding, a draping forward of the trunk over the leg. And the breath moves in and the breath moves out. Make it nice and easy, folding just a little bit more forward with every exhale. And inhale, come back up. We're going to take, you can raise your arms up if you like. Bring the right hand behind the right hip and lift up into a modified gait, pressing with the right to lift the left. And then we'll bring the left arm towards the left ear and we'll swing that left arm around and come back to a seat. So we're gonna come, I'm gonna move so that I'm long on my mat here. So you don't have to do anything really. I'm gonna take my hands underneath my knees here and pull my shoulder blades down the back and lift up one leg. So a modified boat. If you want to take both legs, you can lift up both feet. See if you can keep your boat nice and lifted so the chest is up, resting on the sacral area, center of the buttocks. And if you want to do one leg and then the other, that's certainly an option. Take another breath here. And then we'll lower your feet down and lower down all the way onto the back. So once you find yourself on your back, plant your feet. The arms will be down by your side. And then we'll inhale the hips up, coming into a bridge pose. And exhale the hips down. And then let's inhale them up. And exhale them down. And the bridge with the flowing breath lends itself very well to noticing, inhale up, that suspension of the breath. And then exhale down. and suspend the breath. And we'll go 2 more times. Move with your breath. If you can find that natural pause. Inhale up 1 more time. And exhale down. And then take your feet wider than the yoga mat. Maybe put the inside arches on the outside of the mat and windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Really nice counter pose. Really nice stretch through the back. Allow the feeling of seamless rolling of the hip joint in the socket, just like you've got a brand new ink pen. It's gliding and sliding nicely in the joint. Sometimes when things don't glide well in our joints, it's because we're holding tension. So see if you notice any tension in any area of the body. And just allow the movement to occur. The whole concept of allowing, receiving. Something that as Americans, as Westerners, we tend to not do that very well. Take a couple more rotations here with your hips. And we'll bring the feet back into midline. Bring one knee into the chest. Give it a nice squeeze. Lower it down. Bring the other knee into the chest. Nice squeeze and bring it down. And then bring both knees into the chest. This time, knees wider than the chest. And we'll bring the ankles so they're right on top of the knees if that's available. Bring the arms inside the knees to grab the outsides of the feet. And just like we did with our yogi squat, come into that place where the arms are assisting the knees and the knees are assisting the arms. The hands pull the feet down. And in this position, noticing that there can still be a little bit of energy pulling the tailbone down towards the earth. So that very openness of pelvic floor. That idea of receiving the breath all the way down into the pelvic floor, into the arches of the feet. See if you can notice that. Belly rises, rib cage moves. We'll take one more lovely breath here. Knees come back to center, arms out to the goal post or maybe up a little higher into a Y. And we'll bring the knees over to one side. I just naturally went over to the left, but you can certainly go to the right first. The gaze is going to be over the opposite arm, so start to turn the head. See if you can keep the shoulder blades grounded down. Coming to that awareness of that separation of pelvis and thorax. That releasing of the abdominal wall to allow the breath. Each breath, feel yourself sinking down into the pose just a little bit more. And then we'll bring the knees back to center and repeat that over to the other side. Whichever side you went to first, go to the other side now. See if you can ground down both shoulder blades. The head is going to gaze away from the knees, towards the side opposite your knees. Notice the breath. Receive the breath. Nice, easy breathing here. And then we'll bring those knees back to center. And if there's any pose that you want to do right now that we didn't get to this practice, go ahead and do it now. And we're going to go into Shavasana. And so if you like, if you have a bolster or a cushion off of your couch or just a large pillow, you can place it under your knees. The arms are going to be out to about 45 degrees, maybe 30 degrees. Palms are up. And this is where we reap the benefits of the practice. We let go of the control of the breath. We let go of all effort. Notice as thoughts drift in and thoughts drift out, that they're temporary, that they change moment to moment. And observe them as you would observe a cloud drifting across the sky. We start to notice the spaciousness of the sky. We start to recognize the cloud as just what it is. And we can detach. We can take on the posture of the observer, of the witness. Now I'm going to invite you to just start making some little movements with your fingers, with your toes. If you need to stay longer in Shavasana, please do that. Otherwise, we're just going to start kind of waking up the body again after our brief rest. We're going to move the head from side to side, just allowing that seamless movement. Start to make bigger movements with the ankles, maybe rolling the legs in and out. Arms can come up overhead. Reach and stretch. Notice all the space that you've created in your body. And when you're ready, move the bolster out of the way if you used one. Just kind of kick it to the side. I'm rolling over onto my left side. You can go to the left or the right. I'm going to use my bottom arm as a little bit of a pillow. And rest in side lying while you absorb the feelings that you feel right now, the sensations that you feel right now. Couple them with the breath, with the awareness of the breath. See if you can picture what you're feeling right now entering into every cell of your body. Feeling of equanimity, balance, feeling of serenity, calmness. And then when you're ready, just straighten out the top leg, press gently with your hands, and we'll come up to a seated position. Back where we started in our cross-legged position. Grounding down the sit bones, wanting alignment through the spine. Crown of the head lifts up towards the ceiling. We'll bring our hands back to our mudra, place them in front of the lower ribs, upper belly. It's like you're holding a small ball. And we'll spend 3 breaths really breathing into that space. So inhale, feel the ball expand. Exhale, feel the fingertips come back together. Inhale, expand, allow, soften the belly, allow the ribs to move. Exhale. And one more time, inhaling. And exhaling. Bring our hands back into Anjali Mudra. Grateful for the gift of life. Grateful for the invitation to breath. Grateful for community. And we'll seal our practice with the sound of Om. So inhale together. Om. That vibrational energy circulates through our body. The light in me bows to the light in each one of you. Namaste.
Namaste.